All right. Officially, again, good afternoon. My name is Henry Gugu. I'm a Doctor of Architecture candidate at the Tshwane University of Technology, specifically at the Department of Architecture and Industrial Design. I'm also a master trainer for the IFC's Designing for Greater Efficiency course. Pardon me with the lights there. We leave the message that we preach, and so we have lighting controls here at the office. Okay, I want to officially welcome everyone to this information session, which is for the Designing for Greater Efficiency training and a host of workshops, which we are going to be hosting periodically, through the year 2024 and in later years. So I initially stated something, and I want to quickly clarify that again. For those who have just joined, you're welcome. If you'd notice on the settings, it's your mics and videos are muted, and that is because we want to, sort of curate the whole session and the process. However, you'll be able to interact with us via the chats option. And of course, my email is also there. My email is also there if you have any questions later on. I also want to officially, use the opportunity to welcome Professor Jacques Lobsher, who is a research and innovation professor at the Department of Architecture and Industrial Design, Tshwane University of Technology. He's with us in the meeting as well. Also the head of our department, Dr. Tarin Gom. So we are sort of the team, curating the trainings and curating the workshops here at the department, and will be your contact points if you have any questions or suggestions, all of that. So thank you very much for joining, and I'll carry on with the presentation. I also want to mention quickly that this session is being recorded. And so if perhaps you want to share this with a colleague afterwards, or a friend, or maybe you want to go over the presentation to watch a certain portion of it because there was something you needed to clarify, that will be possible. So with the registration link, with the registration that you made, you've already provided us with your email, and then we'll be able to forward you both the session slides and the link to the recording for you to be able to watch again at your convenience. All right. So EDGE and the Designing for Greater Efficiency course is a course that has been curated and developed, to bring about the understanding of resource efficiency and to enable you design resource efficient architecture. And essentially what the course is aimed at is to enable its participants to learn and design and market green buildings. So that forms the crux of it, the learning part of it, learning to design, as well as learning to market your green buildings or your projects. Now, I know many of us here are, and if not all of us here are, practitioners, and we've been in the field for any good number of years. However, there's still a lot much more that this brings to us in terms of benefits, and which we'll be, going through in this workshop and this session. So for a bit of context, EDGE, as I said, is a course that's offered by the International Finance Corporation, which is a member of the World Bank Group. And it's a course that they developed, but have now partnered with the Department of Architecture and Industrial Design at Tshwane University of Technology to bring this as live training workshops to South African professionals in the industry. And so it's a partnership that is going to be on for a good number of years, but we are hoping and aiming that it extends that knowledge to the whole industry. We know how that is essential for the challenges that we are facing right now. And I'll be unpacking those challenges, in the next few slides. I want to first of all, go through the course details. And so, as I mentioned, it's a course that's been developed by IFC. The main aim is to promote awareness and understanding of green buildings. Now, it is aimed at practitioners and as well as students in the architecture, civil engineering, mechanical engineering, and other construction industry related fields. And so that question was what we were getting, even whilst we were preparing for this information session as to its applicability, whether it's only for architects or it's open to, the larger practitioners. So yes, if you are an architect, it is for you, but maybe you're also an engineer, civil, or in the mechanical field, as long as part of your work, part of your work involves buildings and the built environment, this course is for you. And as I have mentioned earlier, it improves your climate literacy and helps you on how to design resource-efficient structures. Now, to successfully complete this course, you don't need advanced simulation knowledge. You don't need advanced simulation software. All we really need, is a good understanding of a database software such as Microsoft Excel, an understanding and access to architectural and engineering drafting software, as well as an understanding of basic mathematics. So that is going to be essential when we're doing, some of the course and the assignments and the project delivery, but we'll get into that in a while. I want to spend some time emphasizing what the outcome of the course is for you as a prospective participant. The first is that it will help you develop critical thinking skills as well as quantitative skills and the possibility of you analyzing different design approaches. So that's one of the core aspects or core outcomes of the course if you do ultimately participate. Secondly, you're able to conceptualize and integrate green features across multiple disciplines and building types. So that is one of the beauty of this course, is that we examine not only from one perspective of how, let's say, it applies in a commercial building or residential building, but we look at a host of different building types and how, let's say, someone in the engineering field, would be able to approach this, and someone in the architecture field will be able to approach this as well. The third outcome is that you'll be able to quantify the impact, of various design strategies on three key components. The first is on energy. And so what decisions you are making whilst developing your buildings and designing your buildings, what's the impact on energy? What's the impact on water consumption? And what's also the impact on the material consumption? And that analysis, there is the edge building software, which we're going to be using whilst we're doing the course, and we'll be able to analyze these three key components. Fourthly, you'll be able to define an outline for a compelling business case for sustainable design. Yes, one of the key factors in any building project, if not the major factor, is your client. And you'll be wondering, okay, how do you convince your client? Sometimes those questions arise, convince your client to go for a certain alternative as opposed to another, right? So the tool is available to enable that process, be seamless. And so we're going to be covering how to, make that happen through the training. The next one is, as an outcome, you'll be able to communicate your different design strategies and the choices that you've made with your clients, but as well other building stakeholders. Remember, we're quantifying it, and then you're going to be able to communicate that. So it might be a building owner, a developer. It might be, a company who you're trying to convince to invest in a particular project development, or it might also be other design team members that you have to work with. And so communicating your strategies effectively is something that we're going to cover through the training as well. Finally, but not exhaustively, on the final outcome is, the possibility for you to demonstrate your knowledge in the improvement measures and their relative cost-benefit implications. And that is a key component of this. Yes, there are, other platforms, and I'm not going to get too much ahead of myself here. There are other green building rating platforms and all of that, but there are key differences that, the EDGE platform offers. And participating in the Designing for Greater Efficiency course, we're going to cover that. We're going to, cover all those aspects, in a very practical way. So that's it on cost outcomes for now. There is, through the trainings and at the end, ultimately, some assessments that will, be taking place. And that is essential because we want to validate that you, as a participant, have, to a very large extent, been able to grasp the concepts that we've covered. And then we want to be able to evaluate that knowledge. And so every participant will be required to complete some assessments, a number of assessments, all through the training. Now, there's going to be a few assessment exercises, and then there's going to be a final design assignment, which is going to be graded by the TUT delivery team, as I mentioned earlier, at the beginning of the presentation. Now, whilst we're doing the training, there will be opportunities for interactions and a few, quizzes and questions here and there. Perhaps maybe you've not been in an academic environment for some time, or you've not done some training for some time in this sense where you have to do assessments and assignments and all of that. So this is almost going to be a refresher for you. I promise it's going to be exciting. So the assessment and the content is divided in such. We have 6 modules, essentially. Module 1 is on green buildings in context. Module 2 is on form and skin and climate. We're also going to look at engineering architecture and explore lighting and photovoltaics, looking at renewable energy, all of that. And then module 6 is on making the business case. Module 7 is the final design exercise, which will account for the bulk of the weighting, which is 55%. Now, the assignments, which are going to cover for all the 6 modules, is going to account for 45%. And to be certified at the end of this training, you need a minimum of 70%. And that is very much attainable. So no worries at all. If you've not had to take assessments recently, where there's going to be a lot of support from the team here at TUT, but there's also going to be a lot of resources to enable you, successfully complete the course. Now, on successful completion of the course, the participants, you'll receive a certificate from the International Finance Corporation, that's certifying that now you have, proven knowledge on climate literacy, sustainability, and sustainable design, but as well, because we are offering this as accredited CPD workshops, you're also going to be given a CPD certificate, which you can use then to claim your CPD points. And then I'll speak a little bit more about that at the end. What I want to do now is to give you almost like a teaser of the contents, of the Design for Greater Efficiency course. So like we said, there's 6 main modules, 7 modules, including the final design project. And I'm going to quickly go over each module just to give you a sense of what the content would be. And perhaps maybe you're trying to make up your mind whether, you want to participate or not. And so, yes, the first module, which is module 1, we'll be looking at placing green buildings in context. We do know that energy demand for buildings and, consumption in buildings is on the rise. And coupled with that is the growing demand for buildings, because of population growth, urbanization, all of that, so we needed more buildings, and that's presenting its own challenge. But module 1 is going to explore that and really emphasize why green buildings are important, as it, creates the opportunity for us to have greater efficiency in the built environment. Now, there's several definitions for what a green building would be, but the World Bank is very specific as to how it defines and implements green buildings. Just give me a second, please. Yes. So the World Bank definition for a green building is a building that uses 20% less energy, water, and embodied energy in materials compared to an equivalent local benchmark. I want to really emphasize that because, yes, there are other green building rating tools and how sort of that is approached, but this is very specific in terms of the three areas that are being, looked at and being analyzed. All right, so it's 20% less as a minimum in each of these three categories. And so EDGE, which stands for Excellence in Design for Greater Efficiency, is a platform that allows us to explore these three key areas for any design and for different and various building typologies. Okay, so EDGE, the EDGE, if you call it here, the EDGE app or the EDGE software is a World Bank product that brings the latest knowledge in the market, as well as has a strong credibility, whilst also introducing an investment focus that you can implement to showcase your project to, yes, your clients and project teams, but also to a global audience. As I mentioned earlier, it's developed by the World Bank Group, the IFC, the International Finance Corporation, which is a member of the World Bank Group. And so the minimum standard, which every project would strive for through the EDGE platform, is a minimum efficiency of 20% for energy, for water, and for embodied energy in materials. Now, I think this is very important because we're not only looking at the energy efficiency and energy consumption in a building, but water is also a key component. I mean, in South Africa, that's also a crucial issue, the water consumption, as well as all that where you're sourcing materials from and all of that. That's going to be covered in embodied energy. And so the content, we're going to explore that in module 1. And then we'll be working, as I mentioned, with the EDGE platform, the EDGE app. And we'll be going through that, going through how to use the platform, how to implement the different design considerations. And as you can see on the slide there, where you have the two charts, it shows you the charts or the consumption for that category of a base case. And the base case is very specific. It's a base case of the building, of the size and all of that for that building in a particular city of a particular country. So for example, you might be selecting somewhere like Pretoria or Johannesburg, in South Africa. And, it's going to say, okay, this is a base case for this kind of building. And using this intervention that you have selected, you're going to have 25% more efficient energy consumption compared to that base case, or 30% more water efficiency compared to that base case. So we're going to be exploring that through this module. Finally, on module 1, if you do intend, after the DfGE training, to implement EDGE on any of your projects that you're working on in the field, the EDGE team as well provides free publicity for your project, and we'll be covering how that is going to play out in module 1. Moving on to module 2. Module 2 is going to explore fundamental concepts, in designing a building that is suitable for a specific location. And in this case, now you're focusing on the building form, the building scheme, that's, your facade, all of that, and essentially the environment. We're going to be covering very specific themes and concepts. A lot of them are also going to be, data-driven. This is one example is, you're looking at the impact of optimizing ratio of windows, your window to wall ratio, looking at the impact of single glazing, comparing that with, using high performance glazing, but all of this really focusing on the decision-making process. So we're going to cover that in module 2. But, beyond even the practical or the theoretical implications, using the platform, we're also going to look at it from a global perspective and look at various case studies. Because the course as well is not only we are bringing it here, focusing on the South African application, but we're going to get, an appreciation for the global context. So that is module 2. Module 3 is going to look at, engineering architecture, and it's in 2 parts. It's 3.1, 3.2. We're looking at energy consumption and use for cooling, for heating, for ventilation. So very practical issues. Covering various types of ventilation strategies, whether that is, forced convection, whether that's mechanical, ventilation, natural ventilation, or passive ventilation strategies as well. Looking at all kinds of systems, various kinds of systems, such as your heat recovery ventilation as well. So we're going to be covering module 3 is going to cover, various aspects around heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So if, let's say, you are leaning more on the engineering side, yes, like I said, we have much for you as well. And as well, similarly, we are exploring case studies almost with every module. So you get the opportunity to see how what we're exploring here has been applied in different buildings. And, who knows, it could give you ideas for a certain, maybe an immediate project you're currently working on, or some ideas that will be useful for you in the future. And that wraps up module 3. Module 4 moves on to lighting and photovoltaics. So we're going to explore, daylighting, various lighting systems and controls. Emphasis on, we have right here at the office where I am, we have lighting controls. And so that's why it goes up a few times. But the point is we're going to be exploring, various opportunities and various strategies as well in module 4. Very design-specific strategies that you already can implement. So, whether that's looking at, optimizing plan depth for daylighting, looking at lighting sources and the different spatial configurations. We're also going to be looking at aspect ratios. Those kinds of themes module 4 is going to cover. In addition to that, we're looking at various renewable energy opportunities. What the Edge app also offers is the opportunity to integrate some of these decisions into your analysis. So you can already say you want to cover 30% of the consumption for by using solar PV. You'll be able to calculate and say, okay, how much floor area are you going to use? Or maybe you reverse that psychology now. How much floor area do you have for your roof? How much are you going to be able to generate, from that? And how much will, that renewable energy that's been generated be able to offset for your annual energy consumption? So those are themes we're going to cover in module 4. Finally, for module 4, we're also going to look at, themes around carbon offsets. So essentially, you're trying to take, let's say you're trying to take your building from, simple efficiency, but you're trying to make it now net zero. There are various strategies, and, purchasing carbon offsets is one of the alternatives that we're going to explore in module 4. So that gives sort of a sense of how the content is, and modules 5 really is on water and materials. We're going to look at water consumption, various strategies for material selection, very practical issues as well. The Edge app offers the opportunity for you to see how your material selection, whether that be for your walls, for your floors, for your ceilings, all of that, how that's going to perform. Module 6, as I mentioned earlier, is the final design project that you'll be working on as a participant. And again, there's going to be a lot of support for that. The other way we are making this is very interactive. So even after the whole trainings has been, after we've gone through all the modules, and now each participant will get the opportunity to also present their own design and the strategies that they've been able to implement to achieve that minimum 20% across those three categories. So that's one of the really, the more interesting part is everyone engaging with each other's, projects. And finally, for module 7 is making the business case. And that really is going to help us as built environment practitioners market, your design and your design choices to a larger audience, and that can be your clients, or let's say you're trying to get on a project. It also is making the business case is also going to explore the roles of green architects. Perhaps you're considering specializing in sustainability or specializing in sustainable design. Maybe you're even thinking of becoming a sustainable consultant, in the built environment. So the roles of green architects is going to be explored, and how you can go about setting that up, to some extent is going to be explored in module 7. So right now I've given, an overview of content, of the whole content from modules 1 to module 7, and that's almost like a teaser of what we're going to cover in the trainings. All right, so in terms of the CPD offerings, the first, the course is offered over 20 hours. It's a 20-hour course. And the way we're scheduling it is over 4 days. So it's 4 days, 2 weekends. It's Friday, it's going to be 3 hours on Friday. Ideally, it's going to be from Friday 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And then on Saturday, it's going to be, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. So that's going to be an interactive, as you see, it's an immersive experience that you're going to get, and run over 2 weekends so that, we pace ourselves and everyone has the opportunity to really get the content, to engage, with the trainers and to engage with ourselves. Thirdly, on the CPD offerings that I want to emphasize is on the CPD points that we'll be getting. So currently, if you're registered with SACAP, you'll be able to get 4 category 1 CPD points for this. And we know the SACAP requirements for your CPD points. We are currently in process of, also clarifying for ECSA, how many CPD points that is going to be. So we're going to confirm that and get back to you as soon as. But if you have any questions again on that, you can please email me. My email is going to be on the slides, which will be shared later on. So the cost for this is going to be 5,750 Rand per person. However, we do offer a group discount, of well over 10% for anyone who perhaps, maybe you're coming with colleagues or you want to book to attend the training, as a group from your office or from your practice or from your entity. Because yes, you might be, let's say, from an architectural firm, or let's say you are, engaged maybe more in the public sector, but that's the pricing point for this course. Again, it's going to be an immersive experience, but there's a lot of value added benefits that we are offering. And so the first is, improving your knowledge of climate change challenges and how we can respond, to in a manner which is sustainable. So your green building responses. And that is a knowledge that's going to keep on giving well after the training. And of course, you're going to get the training on using the Edge platform as well. So early design phase, you're thinking about what your building could look like and certain decisions, and you want to quickly get a sense of how that's going to impact on your resource consumption in the building. You're able to quickly do that. So again, it's knowledge that's going to keep on giving. And we're not offering this as online trainings. We've had all of that since COVID. And we believe, you as a participant, you're perhaps, looking forward to something more interactive without the, the boundaries of your screen. All right, so it's going to be offered as live in-person training. So in-person interaction, you'll also get the opportunity to interact with fellow participants and network in that sense, as well as, presenters and, almost people who have like minds and like interests. What also you get the opportunity to achieve is that you can use an actual project in your office that you're busy with for your analysis. Remember, again, there's going to be the final design project. Perhaps that's something you want to sort of incorporate and then see how you explore that using the software. But then you get the opportunity to present this project as a case study. Now, with the training also would come, some light refreshment, and so that would be catered for. And also the fact that we're offering it, on the weekends, Fridays 2 to 5 p.m. and Saturdays, 9 to 4, means that's minimal time away from the office. So your responsibilities, you still at the office, you'd still be able to, have that covered during the week. So those are the benefits of the DfGE course being offered through the Department of Architecture at the Tshwane University of Technology to you. At the moment, and I'll send a brochure about that later to everyone who's participated, in this session. We are currently going to offer the CPDs at the beginning of April, so first and second weekend in April, and also first and second weekend in May. So that gives you an option to see which is more flexible and help in your planning. Thank you very much. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. Do we have any questions so far? Maybe in the chat.
Hello, Henry. No, I haven't seen any questions in the chat. Perhaps we can ask the audience if they have a particular aspect they'd like to raise, they can do it now. And hello to everyone else. I'm Jacques Loubser. Henry introduced me with a photograph there at the bottom right. We're very pleased to see everyone here, and we are extremely excited about this EDGE workshop. In particular, as Henry mentioned, the 20% comparison with a case study building. Resource efficiency is necessary within the built environment, and this is a real-world tool in which you can compare while designing to get a significant outcome in the final consumption of your building. We're really looking forward towards this, towards presenting the course, and as Henry had mentioned, this course emanates from the World Bank and also the International Finance Corporation. Thanks, Henry.
Thank you very much, Prof. I'm not sure if perhaps maybe Dr. Gom would be interested in maybe making a comment as well.
Hi, sorry, Prof. Thank you. Just introducing myself here. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tshwane Gom. I don't have much more to add to Prof. Loubser and Henry, although I just want to say that I'm extremely excited about this course, and we're very thankful for everyone that joined today to listen in, and we can't wait to host you, and we look forward to collaborating further. So thank you, Henry.
Sure.
Yes, perhaps the last thing that we need to say is it would be an in-person conference or workshop. It will be held, at the moment, we are saying that it be held in Pretoria, but it depends on where the most interest is, and the location might be adjusted according to where the biggest number of people are concentrated. Thank you, Henry.
All right, thank you very much, Prof, for that. Yes, and so because we know that you're going to be traveling to the venue as well, so we have some flexibility in that sense, and so we do urge you, because as Prof mentioned, Prof Loubser mentioned, and Dr. Gom mentioned, we're really excited about this, and we believe it's a real opportunity, to move for you as participants to grow your climate literacy, to grow your knowledge on sustainability. Perhaps maybe you're even, well versed and maybe you've done courses before on sustainability. This is also, something that could be as an added knowledge and an added skill and tool that you'll be able to use. I see a comment in the charts. It says, given that most existing glazing in the African context is non-performing, will the glazing module look to remedy this type of glazing retrofit solutions? All right, thank you very much for the question. And so what the Edge platform allows you to do is to, analyze your building. So yes, it is possible that, you might take an existing building and then be able to say, okay, what is the consumption looking like? Or let's say rather the impact of the glazing on the final consumption. And then if you were to make different choices, how that would impact on its efficiency. So it is something that you'll be able to explore, using the platform. And it's something, yes, we're going to cover and discuss as well in the trainings. Okay. Thank you. Do we have any other comments or questions? All right. As I mentioned earlier, the recording is going to be made available to us, as well as the workshop, the session slides via the email that you have provided. And we really do thank you very much for your time and making the time to, attend this information session. All right. Prof, any final comments from you?
Henry, we will forward the dates to all the participants. We have an idea of where you are located depending on how you joined, but we'll forward the dates. And then, as Henry said, we have 4 weekends, Friday afternoon, Friday afternoon, Saturday, and it totals 20 hours. The cost, as he mentioned, is 5,750 Rand. It includes the personal interaction, which I feel is the most important part, but also light snacks, the course material, and access to all other resources. Thank you. That's it from me. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you very much, Prof. Thank you once again. Finally, thank you very much for joining this session. Please do enjoy the rest of your afternoon, and we will be in touch. Thank you. Okay, bye.